So here we have an empty file. I just had to, start everything from scratch. I have to start everything from scratch, and we'll try to build a responsive page, create something that is responsive. So what I'm going to do, when we need the extension, I'll show us the extension and how we go about activating it. But for the meantime, we'll go ahead and create something. Now, in the responsive design, we are going to be needing pictures, and that's just it. And in our file, in our file explorer, we have a folder where all our code is. In my case, this is testing22. So I'm going to create a new folder here. I'm going to call it MG IMGS, just short for images. And in my local folder, in my local system, I have image somewhere that I want to use. So I'll use the same image as the tags that we give ourselves, so that it won't be, oh, sorry. Wait. Sorry, the image is from the internet. I forgot. Let me get an image from my laptop. Okay, this one. Okay, I'll copy this picture, and okay, let me just drag it and then put it inside this folder here. Here we have it. I want to rename it to, let me just give it a lady. Good. Here we have our picture, and we are good to go. We have the picture folder, we have the index file, and we have our style file, CSS file. Quickly, I'll generate this boilerplate, and I'll just call this responsive design, and I'll save. So I'm going to use the live server extension. Click on this go live, so that we would have our page open right here. Okay, so here, just watch what I'm going to type, because the more we learn, the more we get used to new things. There is a shortcut if you want to use VS Code that you can use to add your classes, your IDs, and do some other stuff. So, and remember, this is just for learning purposes. There are some elements I'll use here that will not be semantic elements, but they are also useful. But when using them, you have to be very cautious. So I'll put dots and type parents. Now, when I press enter, this will generate the code you are seeing here, a div element with a class name of parents. Now, once I put in this dot, VS Code knows that, okay, I want an element, a container with a class name parent. So when I click, it has given me what I want. And then I break it down. Inside this now, I'll put dot again. I'll just call it child element. And then, you see, already we have our parent container and our child container, just like we did yesterday. In the child container, I will break it down again, and I'll use H3 to put in, let me just call it project name, and then Oh, sorry. Close up. Then underneath, I'll use a paragraph, and I'll just use a lorem text, and I'll have something like this. Okay. So this is forming the skeleton of what we are building. For now, let me just use a comment up here and put, let me use a comment and put place image here. All right, now we're good to go. These are the two things that we have on the page already. Now I'm going to be walking us step by step on how to know when what you are styling is going out of shape and when it is not going out of shape. But before I introduce that extension, I'll make a copy of this. Oh, okay, wait, let me just add the image so that later on I can add the image and comment it out. So I'll put my image full stop forward slash. I'll get the image folder and this is the image. So let me leave the alt text for now. But then this image, I want to comment it out. All right. Now I can go ahead and make a copy of this. I'll just copy them and I'll post into multiple places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, you see we have 6 of them right here. Because I commented out the image, so you're not going to see that. Remember, our parent container has a class name parent, while the child has a class name of child. Let me open this. And then we have image inside. Let's then move to CSS. But before we move to CSS, let me now show us that extension. The extension is called pesticide. Pesticide extension. This extension, no, X extension. So this is a Chrome extension. You can also add it on Edge, but I like using Chrome because it gives more opportunity. I mean, more tools for developers, even at a higher level. So open this extension and simply, simply add it to your browser. You see this button, I've added it already. Add it to your browser, and once it's added, it looks like a bedbug or something like the icon looks like bedbug, something like this. That's what it looks like. Now, when you add it, all right, because we are working on a local machine, it may not respond as you want. So when you add it, go to your extensions. This is the extensions. This is the pesticide here. Click on these 3 dots. Click on manage extension and then scroll down. Make sure that this button, there is a button here. Where is that button? Okay, let me put it full screen. Allow access to file URLs. Make sure that this button here, if it's off, turn it on. Please, very important. Turn it on. Allow access to file URLs. You turn it on, and then you are good to go. Now, when I click on the extension icon, you see what happens to the screen. It highlights all the boxes that we have inside here. All the boxes that we have inside here. It just gives me a line. It just give the skeletal outline of all the boxes that we have on our page. So like this now, it will help us to start styling the page better. So if you want to turn it off, just click on the icon again sorry, you click on the icon to on it, you click to off it. Click, it ons, you click, it goes off. That is how to do that. I think I've seen somebody raising up hand. Or was that a mistake? Okay, so far that is the extension that we need. To put the icon here, I had to pin my own. You see this pin icons here. I just clicked. If I click it to unpin, you see that it's not showing again. But once I pin, any icon that I pin, I mean any extension I pin will show up here. So if you want your own to show here, go right inside the extensions and then pin it up there. I hope that answers the question, Chimjin. Okay, now let's move forward. All right, let's move forward. So let's go and then style this young man that we have here. Now, to start with, we click dots and we select the parent. Sorry, we have parent class, and let's activate. Okay, let me first add a background color because the no. Let's add a border. I just need something, a demarcation, something that will show where each line or each box is located. So I'll just give it 2 pixels, solid black. Okay, this will. Oh, it's not working yet. Somebody did not draw my attention that we have not connected our CSS and HTML. So beneath this title, I'll put a comment, external CSS, and sorry. And right here, I'm going to link my CSS, and it is called styles.css, and I save. Okay, right here we can see that the border is now showing. This is the parent container, that's the border. And also we have for child container. This time let's give it border red. Okay, you see, at this point everything is just jam-packed. And if I click on this pesticide, you see, look very closely. If you are practicing, you see that all the items we have inside, the H3 paragraphs, where you have something like, is it pink color, whatever, I don't know the name, they are all browser styles, like paddings and margins that are added naturally. So if I do something like this, like I showed us yesterday, if I use a universal selector like this and put, if I put padding to 0 and I put margin to 0, see what happens. So all those colors that are the spacing, the default browser styles, they have all disappeared. Why? Because I use this to close them up. But let's leave them for now. Let's just leave them. Okay, so let's then move on to designing the elements that we have. First, we activate our Flexbox by calling display flex. And once I call display flex on the parent container, you see that the display has changed already. They have changed already. And I will do another thing. After the display flex, I can either use my flex flow, which if you remember yesterday, we said flex flow is a combination of two things. One, the combination of flex direction and flex wrap. So if I put it to be row and wrap, this is, sorry, I put row and I have to put wrap again. So this is how it's going to look like. It has returned to the formal display. Why? Because this wrap makes it that once there is no more space at the horizontal level, it will go to break down and go to the next line. But if I remove the wrap and leave only row, you see that it maintains that horizontal display. Now, for us to have it in a better way, let us come to the child element and give size to the container of that child element. For that, we'll come to the child element and specify width. And in this case, let's just call it something like 240 pixels. There's nothing special about this sizing. I'm just giving it by myself. If it's too small, maybe we'll give it something like 440 pixels. Now, no matter the width that you are giving, it's not going to change anything actually. Why? Because this flex box that is activated here is not allowing it to change. So, but for now, let's leave it at 240 pixels, and then the height. Let's leave the height to be. Let's give it 340 pixels. All these are just imaginary. And then I'll add a margin because I would like the thing to have space. So I'll add a margin of 10 pixels too. Alright. Okay, so that I will do to open up that way. See the problem that we're having now. You see that the content inside is already going out of board. You see? Now, our pesticide extension is helping us to give us the demarcation of where the container is. And now, some content are going out of area, out of network coverage. Okay. Now, let me also activate the Flexbox inside the children element. And I'll put the display. And then I'll just add the flex again. See what happened at this point. You see, those who were in the class 2 days ago, you see why we have some issues when the picture was running one side, the text was running the other side. So because I added display flex here, the H3 and the paragraph, they've changed their position from vertical to horizontal. So we need now to watch out. What is inside the box, the child element? Do we want it to be vertical or do we want it to be horizontal? We need to decide that. If we want it to be vertical, we can then change this to block. Block will return it to the way it was initially. Alright? Then, for us to achieve what we want, it must remain vertical. The paragraph, the image, and the heading, the title must be vertical, while the container itself has to be horizontal. Let me turn this to full page so that I'll have a view of what we are doing here. Are we seeing it now? Now, let us, before we continue with the Flexbox containers, let us add some other touches to this container. I want to add some paddings and justify some of these things. Remember, we have different ways of selecting items. The history is inside the child and the paragraph is also inside the child. So what I need to do here is I'll call the child and then call the history, I use comma because I want to call both of them together, history and the paragraph. So I will want to apply the same styling to them. I will put text align to center, all right, so that it will be this way. And also, I want to add a uniform padding. I'll add a padding of, let me give it 8 pixels.
I want to ask a question, please.
Samuel, okay, go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. Please, thank God. I really appreciate this. In fact, this is the area I've been having that hard time. The title, I mean the heading, the project name in the flex boxes. I don't know how you were able to, you compress it that they enter two line, as in having different both the title, they are having two different lines. I mean on paragraph. So that's where I'm having hard time also. I actually put two words actually, but I don't know how to break it for it to be on two lines. So
So your challenge is how to make the paragraph be here and the title to be here.
no, only that one you are highlighted the project name. How those words can break into two without much gap.
Sorry, is it the project? You want the name to be in a separate line?
Yes, sir. Exactly. Thank you, sir.
Okay, don't worry. We'll talk about that. Huh? Let's just continue. We'll address that later, somewhere here. All right, so far, if I should turn off our pesticide, this is what we have. We have the title, we have the paragraph, and I now want to add one last thing before I leave this side. It is called test transform. No, not test transform. I don't want to transform anything. Or I want to get a different styling for the paragraph. Child P, and each text align, I'll give it justified. Sorry, I'll put it justified. So I'll take this away from here to avoid issue, to avoid. So while that is there, I'm going to copy this because the title should be at the center, while the paragraph should be justified, and this is how I want it to look, this way. It's important. So it's important to justify our text. I think it looks good for me like this. Now the next one, before we go into the responsiveness, let me now enable just one picture. This first one here. So we have to control this picture. So go into child, and then we call the image elements. And if I give it width of 100%, and I save, look at what happens. Now we are talking about responsive design. There are some values we use when you are creating a responsive design, and it will be good. All right. One of them is this percentage if you are using picture. So if I should change it to 100 pixels, you see that it is not going to respect the boundary where it is supposed to stay. If I give it 500 pixels, see what happens. It will not have respect for the boundaries where that picture is supposed to stay. But when it is in percentage, then it will have common sense that, okay, I have a boundary where I have to limit myself, and that is the container where that picture is located. So if I put it on full screen like this, the image itself will be resizing itself as the container, the child container is resizing, the image is also resizing with it. That is very important for us to note. So with this 100%, then the image have gotten a little respect. And I would like to add a little margin also so that we have a gap between the image and the container. But you see, this gap that I want to create now, it want to come and cause another problem. You see, it's going to definitely push it out of context. For that, I'll leave this now. Later we'll add it. Most definitely, we'll add it later. Now, I can this way go ahead or comment all the pictures, and I'll be sure that it's not going to mess code. Everything will continue to remain in order until we finish what we are writing. Where am I missing? Okay, this one. Don't comment it to it's there, and this. So of course, now we have been able to bring our pictures and our text under control into separate containers. Very good. Let's go back to the CSS. Here, inside the parent, we only declare this Flexbox, and inside the child, the Flexbox, the display is taking the block position. If I change this to Flex now, see what will happen. It will still cause that problem that we are trying to avoid. Please, let's take note of that. When you have multiple items in a single container and you apply Flexbox to the Flex, now it is going to make your display to be horizontal. But then, if you put Flex direction, what is that? Flex flow, and we put column. If we put column, if we put only column, it will return back to normal. All right. If we put wrap, column wrap, this is what it will mess up the whole thing. So you should know how to mix up these two things. Column, we don't want it to be wrapped. It should remain the way it is. Like this, we are good. Gradually heading somewhere. Another thing now that I want us to talk about is why this box is not sustaining or containing all these paragraphs is because I set the height by myself. The height here is 340. All right. If I change this to 100 view VH, you see what will happen here is, what will happen here is it will automatically extend, and as you are adding content, the thing will be increasing by itself. As you are adding content, it will be increasing by itself. That is another value you need to use when you are doing your responsive designs. Okay, if I put it to 100%, see, it will just contain. If I extend the paragraph, let me do something here. Let me come to this one, and I'll just add additional Lorem text only for this one, and I save. Oh, sorry. If I save, you see, the height will continue to extend as long as you increase the content inside. Why? Because I am using percentage on the height. You can also consider it that. That gives you a responsive behavior. Very good. The gap between our picture, there's too much gap between this paragraph and the title. For me, the gap is too much. And let me activate our pesticide again. You see, the gap, this, what is it called? Pink color or something. The ladies in the house should help. They are good with color. So this gap is too much. We have to control it. And why it is too much is because I applied I applied padding to the H3. See padding here. I applied this padding and I applied it here again. So the two combined is what we're experiencing there. If I comment one out, it will reduce. If I comment the second one out again, it seems to reduce a little bit. I don't know. I'm not just seeing the reaction, whether it is reducing the way we want, but it seems to still be the same. Notwithstanding, the two paddings that I added here contributed to making that gap too much. Now let me show us another thing in the what is it called? Developers tools. If I inspect this page, I right click on inspect, and let me just take this up a little bit. Please, if you can't see it very well, you have to, if you're on phone, pinch your screen a little bit, because, so look at this place. This box you are seeing here is showing us the margin, the border, and the padding that we have applied. If I click on any of them, let me click on this place. You see that this has a margin of 18.720 up and down, and that is why the gap is there. The question now is, inside my code, where did I add that kind of margin? I mean, I don't understand. I've not added any margin. The margin I added here is on the child element. But the title alone is telling me that I have margin of 18 point whatever that I don't know where it is coming from. You see, with this developer tool now, I'm able to detect that, oh, I have unwanted stuff inside my code, and if I want to check how to react, I can go up here and then put 0. I'll just click on it, put 0 here, and then put 0 here. And you see that it is closed up already. You see that this particular one, those additional spaces have been removed. If I click here again and click on the paragraph is showing me 16. Meanwhile, what I even added initially was 8. But it's showing me 16. Even though I have commented them out, the paragraph is showing me that I have 16 pixels of padding, or of margin, sorry. If I put 0 and I put 0, it will also be closed up. But mind you, whatever I'm doing here is just for demonstration, because if I close it, the thing will come back to itself. But why this is necessary is use it to check for necessary gap and spaces, and then you know where to control the gap from. So I'll close this up. If I refresh this page, we are back to where we were. That is it. Now, we have gotten an idea of where our problem is coming from. All right? And another thing that I would like to quickly say here is that um, the display we have so far is not bad, but it's not responsive because if I stretch, see what happens. It does not break to the new line. It doesn't break to a new line. It just keep on squeezing itself, and squeezing itself. We need to take care of that so that our containers can be responsive. Let's continue. Here we said it should be column and it should be no wrap. What then happens if I change this? This is, remember, this is on the child element. It's on the child element. And I come up here, I change this back to block, and I come up here, I uncomment this on the parent element this time. I put it to be row and wrap, and see what happens. I think this is better. If I put it full screen, this is how it shows. You see, it has changed the view of our contents. It has changed it. It has given us a better display because we are controlling the children element from the child. Sorry, we are controlling the child element from the parent container. So instead of assigning this here, remember whatever you assign into the child element controls the internal components, the component or the items you have inside that child element itself. It does not control what is outside. But what you apply to the parent, which is this bigger container, controls what is inside the children. You understand? So in other words, we can say the parent controls the child controls the grandchildren. In this case, the grandchildren are the pictures, the history, and the paragraph. So let's inspect this page again. If I inspect the page, I put it a very wide screen. It gives full horizontal. But if I continue, let me bring this down a little bit. Okay. Now, if I continue to squeeze the page, that one has gone down. That one has gone down. That one has gone down. That one has gone down again. This one is down. And this one. Now we have one. Until you see what happens. If you squeeze it to the end, it's no longer giving us distorted kind of stuff. All right. So there is one last thing we need to do right here, so that we'll have it to show better than it is showing right now. But so far, we've got a nice display, and the pictures are also coordinated. They have respect this time. In here, still on the parents, we want the parents to justify the contents, and let's just put center first. Sorry, I intend to write center, and it's center. So it just put the whole thing at the center of the page, and then this is how it is at the center of the page, you know. And if we inspect again, you see that it's no longer going to be, you see, it's at the center, and if I'm squeezing it, is the ones that are breaking out are going to be middle of the page, and so on. Once you get to this level, you see, and then you see, and then you have this. I think this is better the way it is right now. But one more thing that we need to experiment is there are other values to this justify content. We have space around, space between, space evenly. Let me select this space evenly and see what happens. And then we'll put it like this. See what happens here. Space evenly, meaning that the whatever if you add only two, the gap between the both of them should be equal, no matter what happens. I don't think this is nice, but I just want you to think about it. Is it nice like this? Okay, welcome back to the show. Let's try another value, which is going to be space between or space around. Let's check space around. Then space around behaves somehow like even space evenly, similar to that, but not exactly. Space between, let's change, space between, this one is good for navigation. You see, if it's space between and the page is small, it looks ugly. See how it looks like. Okay. So for me, if you ask me, in most cases, space center, sorry, center will just be the best for now. Let's keep it the way it is. And then when the page is big, it gives you a better display. I like the way this one is underneath. And then there is one other thing that we can do so that if you don't want it to be at the center, this can be at the left side. And then there is one other thing you can say align items center. If you don't put center, you have stats and then sorry. All right, so let's continue and then make this to look a little more better. While I still leave the what is it called, the margin, the border lines there. No, this is not what I'm doing here. Good. While the border lines are still there, let me now add padding to these child elements. Add it to be 8 pixels. Okay, this way to create a gap between the pictures and everything and the borderline. I think this way it is looking a little much better. Now, before I forget, 2 days ago we talked about W3 School. Please go on W3 School and check out Flexbox. It's very, very important. Check out Flexbox in W3 School and read a little of what is there. That will really give you an edge. And then if you have some other resources you can consult, just you can check W3 School Mozilla Developer Network. What is that one again? That's MDN, Mozilla Developers Network. Yes, it is a documentation also. You can get a lot of information here. So when you are here, you can search for CSS Flexbox. Is not found. Right? We have this, and then you see the properties. You can read through all of them. Align element, for example, click on it. They will give you explanation and they will give you code snippets to check how they will each of them react. If you add stats, if you add center, if you add space between, if you add space around and all of that. And they will give you the syntax, the code snippets, how you can make use of them. This MDN web documentation is very, very important. As a beginner, read it and read it and read it. In fact, make it your friend. While this is also good, this dormitory school is also good. All right. We also have the other one. It is called devdocs.io. Devdocs.io is another documentation. Very, very resourceful. You can take note of them and just here, this one now is set for CSS, and then in fact, this is a display box and so many of them. Anyone you click on, then it will give you information, very useful information. So please take note of all this. So some of these things we have looked at them yesterday. The flex box, and we have virtually tried some of them to see how they work. And so far we have gotten what we have on the screen. So let's look at the flex responsive and see what they have here. Inside the flex responsive, we have the laptop and the desktop view, and we have the mobile and tablet view. And that is where they brought in media query. All right, they brought in media query, and here they brought in this property that we have not tested before, and we're going to test it out. I think after that we then call it a day for today. If you now have any question, we take questions and then we'll go back. That task we give ourselves, we'll go back and give it another shot to see how far we can go with it. Back to this. So in our mobile, in our desktop view, we should have something nice, something like this, which is nice. Okay, if it is not, if it's less than 1080, we have this. If the screen size is not up to 1080 pixels, we have this. If it is 1250, 1213, and so on and so forth. As you enlarge it, the larger the screen, the better the display. Let's now break it down with our, what is it called? The media query. At this point, let me share us something also that is very important. CSS media query range. Let me search for something like that, and I'll show us a picture. Let me look for a picture, because we really need to know if we want to make a responsive design, what is the size of the screen that will give us a nice phone display, or that will give us a nice tablet display. I'm looking for a picture that all these ones is not what I should. Next time it's not what we should be wasting time to do. Okay, I'll just tell us this, and later on, laptop is going off, and I don't think there's no light now. Okay, let me open this. So let me see if I can zoom this in. The picture is not zooming in. What we have here is a nice picture, a picture that gives us idea of how to set. Here we have 0 to 480. That's a smaller smartphone. 481 to 768. 769 to 1279, 1280 and above large desktop screen. So let's quickly check this. And how do we check it? We said when the screen is a maximum of this 480, the display should change. So right here we use our media query. And then when they say the max width, when the maximum width is 480 pixels, all right, the child element, the width should be 100%. Let's save that and see what happens. So I'll resize this screen down, 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 down. 48. Is that 48 that I put there? Yes. Sorry, it's not 48. I put 40. 480 pixels. So if the maximum is 480 pixels, then it should give us 100% view. And if I check like this, I don't have any unnecessary spacing. We have border and all of that. What I need to do here is I will be able to control this to override the gap in between is not really good. I don't want those gaps. I want the gaps to be closed up. So I'll put it width to be 100